Let me paint you a picture. There is a man named Derek. Derek has a master's degree. Derek earns $140,000 a year. Derek has read 4 books on index fund investing, subscribed to 3 financial newsletters, and spent 14 hours over the past 2 months researching the optimal asset allocation for someone in his tax bracket. Derek has $4,200 in his investment account. He opened it 3 years ago. Now let me tell you about Simone. Simone is a doctor. She clears $180,000 annually. She has a financial advisor, 2 brokerage accounts, a Roth IRA she opened last year, and a spreadsheet with 17 tabs tracking her investment strategy. Simone's net worth, after 12 years of earning in the top 5% of American income, is just under $31,000. And then there is Brandon. Brandon is a senior director at a tech company. He has been earning over $200,000 for the past 6 years. He drives a car that costs him $1,100 a month. He lives in an apartment that costs $4,800 a month. He has been meaning to get serious about money since 2019. Brandon's savings rate is 4%, 3 smart people, 3 high incomes, 3 financial realities that make no sense until you understand what is actually happening. Because here is what most conversations about wealth get wrong. They assume the problem is information. They assume that if someone just knew more, read the right book, found the right advisor, understood compound interest properly, the behavior would follow. But Derek knows compound interest. Simone has a financial advisor. Brandon has attended 3 corporate financial wellness seminars. The information is not the problem. The problem is a specific set of cognitive traps that are uniquely activated by intelligence, education, and high income. Traps that do not affect people who don't know better, because those traps require a particular kind of confidence to build. Today we are going to name all 6 of them. Cognitive trap. 1. Over-optimization paralysis. Derek's problem has a name, and it is not laziness. Derek has never started investing properly because he cannot find the optimal starting point. Every time he gets close to a decision, he finds a new variable, a new fund to consider, a new tax strategy to factor in, a new piece of information that suggests his current plan might not be quite right. So he waits, he researches more, he refines the plan, and while he is refining, nothing is invested. This is over-optimization paralysis, and it is almost exclusively a smart person's trap, because you have to know enough to know what you don't know. You have to care enough about getting it right to never actually start. The brutal irony is this: the cost of waiting for the perfect plan is higher than the cost of any imperfect plan you could have started 3 years ago. Derek's $4,200 in his investment account would be $47,000 if he had started with a basic 3-fund portfolio in year 1 and never touched it. Not because the strategy would have been perfect, because it would have been started. The reframe Derek needs, and the one most people with this trap need, is this: a good enough plan executed today is worth 10 times a perfect plan executed never. The enemy of wealth is not ignorance. For smart people, the enemy of wealth is the perpetual search for certainty in a system that rewards action over perfection. Start with good enough. Optimize later. Cognitive trap 2. Complexity, bias in investing. Simone's problem is different. Simone did start. Simone has accounts and a spreadsheet and a strategy. The problem is that Simone equates complexity with competence. She has 17 tabs in her investment tracking spreadsheet. She monitors 6 different funds across 2 brokerages. She reads 4 financial publications every week and adjusts her portfolio allocations quarterly based on what she has been reading. Simone feels like she is doing a lot. She is doing a lot. But doing a lot is not the same as doing the right things. Here is what the data consistently shows. The The more actively a retail investor manages their portfolio, the worse their long-term returns. Not slightly worse, dramatically worse. The average active retail investor underperforms a simple total market index fund by 3 to 4 percentage points per year. Over 20 years, that gap compounds into the difference between financial independence and financial stagnation. Simone's 17-tab complexity is not making her wealthier. It is costing her in time and in returns more than the simplest possible strategy would. The cognitive trap here is that smart people are conditioned to believe that complex problems require complex solutions. In almost every domain of their professional life, this is true. The law is complex, medicine is complex, engineering is complex. The more you understand, the more nuanced your approach becomes. But investing is one of the few domains where the opposite is true. Simplicity wins. A 3-fund portfolio held for 30 years will outperform most sophisticated active strategies. The market rewards patience and cost efficiency, not complexity and frequent adjustment. The reframe Simone needs is this: sophistication in investing is not about doing more. It is about understanding enough to do less, on purpose, with conviction. Close 12 of the tabs. Pick 2 or 3 broad index funds. Automate the contributions. Stop reading the daily financial news. The complexity is not adding return. It is adding noise, cost, and false confidence. Simone's net worth at 12 years of high income should be approaching 7 figures. The complexity bias cost her $600,000. That is not an exaggeration. That is the math. Cognitive trap. 3. Income confidence spending. Brandon's problem is the most common of the 6, and in many ways the most invisible. Brandon does not feel financially stressed. That is the entire issue. When you earn $200,000 a year, the psychological experience of money is fundamentally different from earning $60,000. Not because the math is different, it isn't, proportionally, but because the cushion feels enormous. The salary is so much larger than any individual expense that nothing feels dangerous. The car payment is $1,100, but Brandon earns over $16,000 a month. The car payment is fine. The apartment is $4,800, but it's $4,800 out of $16,000. Brandon can handle it. The dinners, the travel, the wardrobe, the subscriptions, all of them individually feel reasonable against a $200,000 income. None of them trigger the alarm that they would in someone earning $65,000. Because the salary creates a false sense of financial immunity. This is income confidence spending. The high income functions as a psychological permission slip that deactivates the normal financial caution mechanisms that lower earners necessarily maintain. The result is that Brandon's savings rate at $200,000 is actually lower than the savings rate of many people earning $80,000. Because those people feel the pressure of their finances. Brandon doesn't feel any pressure, so he has never applied any discipline. And here is the number that makes most high earners genuinely uncomfortable when they see it. If Brandon had maintained a 30% savings rate across his 6 years of $200,000 income, he would have $360,000 invested today, not counting compound growth. At an 8% average annual return, that becomes over $530,000. Brandon's actual investable assets, $48,000. The gap is not the salary. The gap is the false immunity the salary created. The reframe for income confidence spending is simple and uncomfortable. Your savings rate matters more than your income. A person earning $80,000 with a 30% savings rate is building wealth faster than a person earning $200,000 with a 4% savings rate. Every single year. The numbers don't lie even when the salary makes them feel like they should. Cognitive trap. 4. The illusion of future correction. Priya knows she should be investing more. She has known for 4 years. She is not doing nothing. She has a 401k that her employer auto-enrolled her in at 3% contribution. She has a savings account with $8,000 in it. She has a plan. The plan is, next year, when things settle down a bit, she is going to get serious about this. The year before that, the plan was the same. And the year before that. This is the illusion of future correction. And it is uniquely powerful for smart, self-aware people because they know they need to fix it. The awareness of the problem creates the false sensation of having partially addressed it. Knowing about it feels like progress. It isn't. The cognitive mechanism here is what behavioral economists call present bias, the systematic tendency to discount future costs and overvalue present convenience. Combined with genuine intelligence and self-awareness, present bias becomes especially insidious. Smart people can construct very convincing arguments for why now is not the right time. The arguments are sophisticated. They reference real constraints. They acknowledge the problem while perfectly justifying the delay. Priya is not making excuses out of laziness. She is making genuinely logical-sounding cases for why next year is the more appropriate starting point. The arguments change every year, but the conclusion is always the same. Not yet. The cost of Priya's not yet is brutal when you run the numbers. She is 31. If she had started investing $800 a month at 25, which she could have done on her income, at 8% average returns, she would have $58,000 in her account today. That $58,000, left completely untouched from this point forward, would grow to $853,000 by retirement. She did not start at 25. She kept not starting. The 6 years of delay cost her $795,000 in retirement wealth. Not from the contributions she didn't make, but from the compounding those contributions would have generated. The reframe for future correction thinking is this: the cost of delay is not the money you don't save. The cost of delay is the compounding you don't start, and compounding cannot be recovered. The time that passed is the asset that is permanently gone. There is no next year version of today's compounding. There is only today. Cognitive Trap 5. Knowledge-Action Confusion. This trap does not have a character attached to it because it lives inside all 4 of them simultaneously. It is the belief that understanding something is the same as doing something about it. Derek understands compound interest perfectly. He just hasn't started. Simone knows that index funds outperform active management. She has 17 tabs anyway. Brandon knows his savings rate is too low. He feels fine about it because he knows he knows. Priya knows exactly what she should be doing, which is why she feels less urgency to actually do it. Knowledge-action confusion is what happens when intelligence becomes a substitute for behavior. The smarter you are, the more fluently you can discuss what you should be doing, and the easier it becomes to confuse that fluency with actual financial progress. Most financially literate people are not financially healthy. Financial literacy is knowing what to do. Financial health is the consistent behavior of actually doing it, regardless of whether the conditions are perfect, regardless of whether you fully understand every variable, regardless of whether the market is doing what you expected. The reframe is direct and uncomfortable. Knowing is not doing. Reading this or watching a video like this one does not move money. Only moving money moves money. Smart people disproportionately fall into this trap because they have been rewarded their entire lives for knowing things. In school, in work, in social settings, knowing the answer is the performance that matters. But in personal finance, the only performance that matters is the behavior, not the understanding of the behavior itself. Cognitive Trap 6. Peer group calibration at the wrong level. The final trap connects all the others and explains why they persist even when smart people are aware of them. Derek, Simone, Brandon, and Priya all have one thing in common beyond their income. They are surrounded by other high-earning, educated people whose financial behavior looks similar to theirs. Derek's colleagues are also researchers and optimizers who haven't fully committed to their investment plans. Simone's doctor colleagues also have complicated financial situations that haven't resolved into real wealth. Brandon's tech director peers also drive expensive cars and live in premium apartments. Priya's professional network also has plans for next year. When everyone around you has the same trap, the trap disappears from view. The behavior becomes normalized. The financial dysfunction that would be obvious against a different peer group becomes invisible when your entire reference point is the same dysfunction at a high income level. This is peer group calibration at the wrong level. Smart, high-income people calibrate their financial behavior to other smart, high-income people and miss the fact that the peer group itself is collectively underperforming relative to its income. The reframe is this: stop measuring your financial behavior against your peer group and start measuring it against your income potential. The question is not, am I doing better than my colleagues? The question is, given what I earn and how long I have been earning it, what should my net worth actually be by now? That number, when calculated honestly, is the real benchmark. And for most high-earning professionals in their 30s and 40s, the gap between that number and their actual net worth is the most clarifying financial data point they will ever see. Here is what all 6 of these traps have in common. None of them are caused by lack of intelligence. None of them are caused by not caring. None of them are caused by the absence of information. They are caused by the specific ways that intelligence, education, and high income interact with human behavioral patterns to produce outcomes that look nothing like what the income would suggest. The traps are built by the very things that make smart people successful in every other domain. The analytical precision that makes Derek excellent at his job is the same precision that prevents him from starting before everything is perfect. The systematic rigor that makes Simone exceptional at medicine is the same rigor that produces 17 portfolio tabs. The confidence that makes Brandon a senior director is the same confidence that makes him feel financially untouchable. The strategic patience that makes Priya effective at long-term planning is the same patience that she applies to the act of beginning. The blind spot is built from the strength. And the only way out of a blind spot built from a strength is to see it clearly, which requires looking at the behavior rather than the intention. Not what you plan to do, not what you know you should do. What you have actually done with the money you have actually earned over the time you have actually had. That audit is uncomfortable. It is also the only thing that moves the needle. Because the gap between where you are and where your income should have put you is not a failure of intelligence. It is a gap between knowing and doing. And you have always known which side of that gap you are on. The question is what you do about it today.